Okay, everybody, welcome. Everybody, thank you for coming tonight. This is the 11th fly. We've done 11 of these. Yeah. 11 months worth of work. And next month is the 1-year anniversary. It's pretty exciting. We have the 16th, yeah, it's on the calendar. Yes. Can we turn the music on? Yes. That'd be great. So, a couple things I want to just tell you here. First of all, thank you all for coming. It's spring break, and everybody's out of town. I went to a bar beforehand, and there was nobody there. And you guys are all here, which is awesome. Give yourself a big hand. Yeah. We've got some great storytellers for you tonight, but I kind of wanted to give you some background here. Okay, first of all, this is The Fly. You guys have all made it into The Fly, which is our complete ripoff of The Moth, right? True stories told live in front of an audience, and that's what we're going to be doing tonight. Now, the reason why I wanted to start this here is because I wanted to sort of build a community of storytellers, and I wanted also just build a community because we are living in a pretty trying time right now. And you know, there's a lot of hate out there, and there's a lot of racism, and there's a lot of bad things happening, and I want everybody to be able to come together and share stories and enjoy. That's what we're here to do tonight, and I want everybody to sort of revel in that. So what will happen is we have Lisa's going to finish her popcorn any second now, because she's really loud with her popcorn. And what's going to happen is we're going to have 9 storytellers tell their stories tonight. Some are brand new, have never told a story. We're going to give a big hand. We're going to give a big hand to every storyteller. But when the time comes, yeah, a little premature, but when the time comes, I will let you know when you come back. But I want everybody to just enjoy. Let's see. Again, these are all true stories, and we're going to start off. I'm going to start off by telling a story. The theme tonight is choices. Now, some people are going to be you're going to hear the word choice in their story. Some people won't. But what we've done is for each story you're going to see, there's 5 words that they've told me beforehand. And except for Mimi, I don't have Mimi's. But, because she never does. But we're going to have 5 words that'll come up, and that's sort of the anchor points to the story. And you'll see that as we go along. Also, if you are interested in telling a story, please either you can text me, just say I'm interested, and I'll get back to you. There's also that QR code, which is for our Facebook page. And I think that's it. Next month we're doing this. It's going to be Story Salad. There will not be a theme. It's whatever you want to tell for our 1-year anniversary. Okay. So I'm going to put my words up, and you can give me a big round of applause. I'm about to start. Talk slow. Okay. All right. Yeah. So I've been given instructions by my mother to talk slower. Okay, so I'm going to do that. So here's what we're going to do. So I want to tell you a story about what happened between. I had a job that I was going to start. I had ended one job, and I was going to start another job. And in between, I had some time. And in that time, I wanted to take some time to sort of get some perspective, get some zen, get some peace, and figure out kind of there's only a few times in your life that you have that opportunity in between jobs where you stop one job and there's another job waiting for you, and it's like this wonderful experience, right? So I wanted to get some peace and zen. So my wife, at the time my girlfriend, Justine, had done this trip to India, and she'd gone to the Himalayas to go trekking. She did a 21-day trek. And it had been a few years earlier, and she thought it would be great for the 2 of us to go on this trek together, go on a similar trek. So we decided to do a 10-day trek. And it was going to be very exciting. It was in India, in the northern Himalayas of India. And so the first plan was that we were going to meet in Delhi. She was in India studying Iyengar yoga with the Iyengars. If anybody's a yoga fan, you'll know who they are. And I met her in Delhi, and I flew in, and we took some time to gather some supplies and get all the stuff that we needed for our trek, because this was going to be a pretty intense trek. And the plan was to fly to Ladakh. Now Ladakh, or Leh is what the town is called, is the highest commercial airport in India, and one of the highest in the world. It was 11,000 feet. And most people are smarter and they take a bus up there so you can acclimatize, but we didn't have that kind of time. So we decided we were going to fly into Ladakh, and we flew into the airport and immediately felt the altitude. and it was intense because it's 11,000 feet from sea level, and I felt nauseous, and I felt I couldn't walk, I couldn't eat, I just felt miserable. And I thought to myself, I have so few times in life when you're going to have that opportunity to have that time between jobs. And I thought, bless you. And I thought that I would, this was miserable. Why would I want to do this? But Justine was a planner. We were going to have an amazing trip. And her plan was to go on this trek for 10 days without a guide. Now, her superpower is to do all these amazing trips. We have done amazing trips throughout the years, and it's all because of her planning. And she had done this before, so she figured, okay, I know the way, generally. So we were just going to hire some horsemen. And these horsemen were basically porters. We hired 2 Nepali men. They were a father and son team. And they would take our stuff. What would happen is we'd get up in the morning, we would have breakfast, gather all our stuff, put our tent back away, give it to the horsemen, and they would go. And their job was to, again, take it from point A to point B. Their job was not to guide us, and they did a really good job of not guiding us. They would just leave, and then say that was the way we were supposed to go. And we didn't have a compass, and we didn't have any maps, but we generally had an idea that it was that way. And this came into play when we hit some T-junctions. You'd be going along on this path that was relatively straightforward, but we go along this path and we see in front of us a mountain range, and the path going left and right. And then we had to decide which way we were going to go. Fortunately, again, we generally had an idea of what we wanted to do, so we knew how to get to where we're going, and we didn't get lost. But the first day I remember, we got there, each day was like a 8 to 12 hour day of hiking through these really rough terrain. And we would be going up, and each time we were going up, and the altitude was getting more. And I had kind of gotten over my altitude sickness pretty much the first few days in Ladakh. And when we hit the trail, I was okay. But I remember it was step, step, stop, breathe. Step, step, stop, breathe. But for Justine, the altitude sickness hit her right then. So it was step, step, puke, stop, breathe. Step, step, puke, stop, breathe. So it was the first day, all she did was throw up the whole way, the thing. But it was interesting because we had to plan for all this. We planned for the trek, and we planned for, we had to make sure we had the right amount of food. And we didn't have enough food, so we would go each day and we'd have meals like maybe it was a can of tuna and some crackers and some chocolate that was special for India that didn't melt. And so we would go through this thing, and each day we were starving, but we just had what we had, and we just reveled in the mealtime. The other issue was we had river crossings. Each day there was multiple river crossings, so it would be. And the water was really cold. I'm talking really cold. We would go across these rivers, again, maybe it was 4 or 5 a day, and it was take off your shoes and roll your pants up. And this was it was a tough winter, so there's a lot of snow, and the water was ice cold. It was like ice cream headaches for your feet, and we'd go across it was just miserable. And I remember we also occasionally would have, when it was time to bathe, we'd bathe in that water. And, in the male body, if you're in cold water, things tend to retreat. But in this case, it's like complete surrender. I mean, everything is like sucked in, and it was cold. It was like the ice bath that Jeremy does every day, in a rushing cold river. Cold. It was cold. And the other thing that we had to deal with was going to the bathroom. So bathroom outside, I'm kind of like a closed bathroom, quiet, fan on, spend some quality time there. And this was not that experience. This was in the great outdoors. And I remember having dreams about a white porcelain toilet and how awesome that would be with some sort of enclosed environment, but that didn't happen. So despite all these challenges, we had an amazing experience. I mean, it was magical. We were walking in the middle of nowhere, and there'd be this, we'd struggling every step. And some old lady who looked like she was 1,000 years old would walk by with like a pound of, 10 pounds of sticks on her back and just tear past us. And we're like, or we'd be in the middle of nowhere and look up and there'd be this incredible Buddhist temple with all the flags flying. And it was gorgeous in this very rough, beautiful terrain. So it was different wet temperatures, but one day we hit this really warm day. It was a gorgeously warm day, and I decided that I was wearing my shorts and a t-shirt, because it was such a hot day. Well, I wouldn't need anything else. Why would I need anything else? So we had our day packs and we had our lunch, and we left we left actually that morning because it was a long day before the horsemen, and we headed off on our way. And as the day progressed, it got a little cooler, but it was fine. It was a beautiful day. And we got about 4 or 5 hours in, and we came across one of the horsemen. And we said, "What are you doing here?" And he explained in his broken English that the horses had gotten loose in the night, and they were still looking for them. So all of our stuff was still back at the camp, and we're like, "Oh, okay. Well, hopefully you catch up to us and pass us and meet us there," because they would meet us, and they wouldn't set up our tent or anything, but they would just have some tea ready for us, and so that was fine. We're going to do that fine. And just as they sort of left and went over the horizon, the weather changed. The wind started blowing in, the temperature dropped 10, 20, 30 degrees, and I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt, and it starts to snow. And I am cold. And I'm walking along, and I'm thinking each moment as I'm stepping with really little or no food in my system. And each time because we had so little food, I remember each time I would bathe, I would have to make a new notch in my belt so my pants would stay up. And I'm freezing anyway. And then it starts to snow, and I'm shaking. And as you're shaking, you are losing energy. It's pulling energy out of you. And so I'm exhausted, and I go, and we have another 4 or 5 hours to go. We finally get to the tent, to the end, and it just so happened there was another group of people that had done the same trail that day, and there was a big tent, and I waited in there for our stuff with a little light blanket and a cup of tea, shaking. Finally, the horseman about 2 hours later came. So this was like a 12-hour day, and the horseman came, and I remember putting every piece of clothing that I had on me, and I put it all on, and we set the tent up, and I went into the bed, and I had never at that point been so tired in my life. I mean, nowadays, like, I'll get up and I put my pants on and I'm tired, but back in the day, it was like a whole different thing. I was so exhausted, and I remember getting into bed, into the sleeping bag, zipped it up, and I was out. And it turned out that night, it snowed 2 feet. And the tent kept getting covered with snow, and my girlfriend at the time, had to get out of the tent. She tried to wake me up. I was dead to the world. She had to dig the tent out each night. The next day, it was a beautiful day. Sun was shining, beautiful snow everywhere, and we had all of our layers over. And after crossing a pretty precarious river crossing, we got to the horsemen. We gave them our stuff. They went off on their way, and we climbed this mountain, stripping off layers as we went. And so we were finally in our t-shirts. And I have to say that I went to India for this sense of, perspective, and I wanted to sort of get some Zen in my world. And, I moved to San Francisco, and I think the biggest thing I learned was kind of like the importance of layering. And so, when it comes down to it, kind of to put it more succinctly, it really wasn't about getting some more peace. It was about learning about fleece. And so, close enough. Anyway, that's my story. Thank you. All right. Let's give a big hand for Gary for that wonderful story. Okay. So, all right, the next person to come up is Eileen. Eileen's going to come up and tell a story, so please come on up, and I'll let your words up for it. Big hand for Eileen. Prepared with your words. Oh, by the way, before I'm sorry, I just want to just show you. I know it's hard to see, but there's the horseman over there in the corner. I'm going to shut the ladder just so you can see it real quick. There's a lady with the sticks in the top right. You can't really tell, but she was like 1,000 years old. There's the snowy tent, and there's after we're taking off our legs. Oh wow! Yeah. All right. Here we go. Eileen.
Hi.
Hi.
So I'm on the school bus with my BFF Pat. We're going to the local Catholic school right outside of Philadelphia. And we're sophomores. Pat comes up to me, she says, "Eileen, look at this thing I found in the paper. there's a Twiggy lookalike contest. You've got to join. You look just like her. And I'm like, wait a second. I said, I'm sitting here on the bus with you. We're going to Catholic school. I got this ugly, hot, scratchy uniform on. And Twiggy is an international fashion model. So, but I thought it would be fun. I thought, what the heck? So I went home, Mom and Dad helped me to apply, and they said, you know, you have a pretty good chance. Everyone was calling me Twiggy. And so they helped me to apply. I had a couple 3x5 black and white photos I had to submit. And so that was fun. So next thing you know, I'm called as one of the 10 finalists. So I'm like, okay, this is getting very interesting. I heard a rumor that one of the other finalists, Dawn Dilks, she was a model for the department store that was the sponsor. And I'm like, I don't have a chance. You know, she had her makeup and her hair professionally done. She had her wardrobe picked out by the professionals. So I thought, well, whatever, I'll see it through, I'll go through with it, see what happens. So one of the first things we had to do as finalists was we had to go to these photo shoots. A couple of newspapers from Philadelphia were there. And they had us all lined up on this big red fire engine. All 10 of us, right? All tall, skinny, blonde girls that had varying degrees of looking like Twiggy. And Dawn Dilks is right next to me. And I'm like, I can't catch a break. So anyway, the day of the contest comes. And they close down the street. They put a big stage over the street. And it was crowded. There was lots of people there, my parents, my friends, and everything. And so up on the stage is the 10 of us and a couple of judges. And Dawn Dilks is right next to me. When they called my name as the winner, I thought, I was astounded. I couldn't believe it. So what did I do? I started to cry. And my makeup, mixed with tears, starts running down my face. That's when they started taking pictures of the winner. So, bottom line, I won a $200 wardrobe, a modeling career, and I also was inducted into the Philadelphia Models Guild. Now, this dress might not fit me as well as it did when I was 14. But one thing that does fit is the lesson that I learned. And that lesson is, even though I didn't think I had a chance, I stuck through it. And I saw it through, and it changed my life. There it is.
Take your microphone. All right, I'm gonna take your microphone.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's give it up for Eileen. Nice. Okay, so now we have a first-time storyteller. Let's give a big warm welcome for Jeremy. Everybody.
The idea of Gary being Zen.
Yeah.
you need to work on that. So I told this story, and Gary immediately said, "You should tell this one tonight." So here I am. But I heard that the theme was choices, and I thought about, where do we make choices? And it's the prefrontal cortex of our brains. It's where the executive functioning happens. And it is very well known that it's not fully developed in the human male until after the age of 25, and in my case, maybe closer to 60.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was the summer of 1975, and I was a little 10-year-old boy, and my neighbor, Bobby, invited me for a play date. And so the next morning, his dad picked us up and took us to his house because they were divorced, and this is a house I'd never been to before. And what I didn't know is that he wasn't much of a dad, and he dropped us off at the house, and with no direction, nothing to do, and totally alone. So we started kicking around and looking for stuff to do. And at the time, I was a little pyromaniac, and it's no surprise that I turned out to be a glassblower, working with flame all the time. But anyway, at that time, I found a pack of matches, 20 in a pack. And Bobby was very interested in me lighting them, and he was a little bit younger than me, so he didn't light the matches, I did. So I was like, well, we got to find something to burn. And so we searched the house, and there was nothing. And the house that we were at was a 1940s a bungalow with a detached garage. And the garage was in the back of the property with a straight shot of the driveway all the way out to the street. And so we walk out there and we open the garage, and it's an empty 2-car garage with a gabled roof, raw wood sides, no drywall or anything, and it's basically empty. On the left side, there was a green shag rug rolled up. On the right, there was some gardening implements like a rake and a shovel. And in the back, like a little glowing icon, was a gas can. So Bobby grabs that gas can and heads and pours out a little spot of gas in the middle of this stained concrete garage, and I light the match and I throw it in, and it's burning, and we are fascinated. This is the greatest thing ever. And then it burns out, and so then Bobby pours out another spot. And it's a little bit bigger, and the flames are a little higher, and we're loving this. And after 3 or 4 times, I realized that we can be seen from the street. People are walking by, cars are going by. So I have this great executive function in my brain kick off to say, let's make a choice to close this garage. So that had two good things happen. One is now it's dark in there, so we can see these beautiful flames, and we're not going to get caught, because Bobby's dad was the what do you call it, corporal punishment kind. And so this continues, a little bit of gas, and each time the spot of gas got bigger and bigger and bigger. And by the time we were down to the last match, Bobby had poured out a huge puddle of gas, and it was at least three, maybe 4 feet in diameter. It was a lake of gas. And I said, no way, Bobby, we're not lighting this one because it's too dangerous. And he really wanted me to light that match. He wanted to see it go. And we were arguing back and forth. Now, what I didn't know at the time is gas is highly volatile, and it was evaporating and creating a layer and it's heavier than air. So it's creating a layer of vapor on the floor. And I'm a people pleaser. I like to make people happy. I wanted to make Bobby happy. I didn't think it was a great idea, but I lit that match, and I can vividly remember it lighting up and fizzling out. And I said, see, it wasn't meant to be, and there was still a little glowing ember on it, and I just threw it down, and that vapor went whoosh, and the flames were licking the ceiling, and I thought we're dead. It's amazing that I'm standing here today, and I don't know how, but this young executive function prefrontal cortex of mine decided to take that rug that was on the left side and roll it out over that huge puddle of gas, and it went out. It was silent, and but now we don't want to get caught, right? So we don't want this gas-soaked rug. So I pulled it back, and whoosh, the flames hit again. But what I noticed is I immediately threw the rug back over. But this time I noticed that the flames were a little less high. And I realized that if I pulled it back, which I did, and whoosh again, it was slightly less, and put it back, and pull it back, and pull it back, each time the flames got smaller and smaller and smaller. Oh, I forgot to tell you, sorry. We were caught when that first one went up. We were caught between the flames and the garage door. So there was no escape. There was no other door. And that's why we were trapped. And I don't know, anyway. So flame less and less and less, down to nothing. And all that was left was this smoking, crispy, green shag rug, which I rolled up. And we put it back against the wall of the garage, and we opened that garage door, and we never spoke of it again.
Oh, I'm gonna show this is Jeremy as a child. Here we go.
Oh yeah.
There's Jeremy. There's Jeremy. Isn't he cute? Oh, nice. All right. So we've all done those things as a kid, right? Everybody's done those things where we've, lit matches or done things that are a little bit scary. Jeremy, thank you for reminding us of the wonderfulness of being a child.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. So we're going to have Maria come up, and this is her first time as well telling a story. However, she has told stories at the Moth, so she's actually the professional here. Here we go.
Yeah, they just set that up way too high. Is this the mic?
Plug it into you. Just stay close to the mic.
Okay.
And I'm going to put your words up. There we go.
Thanks. Today I was up in Napa Valley in St. Helena with my dog Flora Jane because I was having her rattlesnake trained. Here in Marin, there are rattlesnakes. People have encountered them on Mount Tam. But I actually have a place up in Hopland with a group of friends, a piece of property. It gets very hot, and there are rattlesnakes everywhere. And even though you hear they're more afraid of you than you are of them, these rattlesnakes are really not afraid of us. They're not aggressive, but if you're sitting in chairs, they might come right up between you and just keep on going about their business. And so my dog, she sees them and she'll jump at them, or when they go down a hole, she'll go to the hole and she'll dig furiously, stick her face as far as she can in, dig some more. Yes, so I just about had a heart attack, right, when this is going on. And so you're kind of always looking at this, trying to be aware of this. And rattlesnakes are really incredible. So I started reading up on them. And they can map the forest floor with their tongues. And they do it through scent. So they are smelling the floor of the forest by scent, and they can track particular animals in this forest floor by scent. And under their nostrils, they have 2 holes, and they're cold animals, and they hunt by heat. So if they sense any heat, they can strike. And the strike of a rattlesnake is faster than us blinking. So that's how fast they can catch a mouse. And they don't want to strike us. For a rattlesnake to strike a person or an animal or anything, it takes about as much energy as for us to run a marathon. So they really don't. They really don't want to mess with us. And if you leave them alone, it's fine. But my dog doesn't leave them alone. And so she's the one I worry about. And so I've timed it, how fast I can get it to the vet. Does the vet have the antidote? And some of the people around who have farms are like, oh, well, they can live. You just put them in a cool room and don't let them run around too much. And I'm like, I'm not leaving my dog in a cool room and hoping she makes it, right? I'm a Marin helicopter mother with my dog. I'm not a farmer. So, and I've seen a human after being bit by a copperhead. My little brother, Stephen, he was about 12 years old. He was out of the soccer field. And he caught one, and he was trying to shove it into a bottle. Yeah, so it's calling the herd. And he was always doing things like that. We always have these animals in our house getting let loose. Tadpoles became frogs, died under the radiators, horrible deaths. And so my father, in all his wisdom, he was like, well, Steve, I think the best thing to do right now is to go ahead and play your soccer game. Yeah, which is literally the worst thing you can do. He goes, you need to just sweat it out. So my brother did. So he went out and my brother played a soccer game, And then they came home, and they walked in the door, and my brother was the strangest shade of green I've ever seen. It's like kind of this gray green, and my mother screamed and threw him in the car and took him to the emergency room. But we were, kind of sweated out as kind of, sort of one of our family's thing, right? And every family has something like that. Like, who do you think you are? Just sweat it out. Or something that's really probably not healthy, not super loving and nurturing, And this weird thing that the humans are wired for is that tends to become sort of the basis of our sexual attraction, right? The basis of why we want to date someone. And we might be thinking, I don't know what it is, I'm just really attracted to him, and your friend or her, and your friend's like, oh, I know why. I've seen this before. It's because it's a really unhealthy family dynamic you have. It's you're sweated out. But we're primarily wired in this way, right? It's kind of, we don't even understand, why this is happening or what's going on. But I can tell you, as I've gotten older, that I don't have a relationship, but I love my dog, and my dog loves me so much. And no one is ever going to love you like your dog does. It is a perfect love. They are never disappointed. They are never mad. And that you can murder someone and they're going to come running out with joy to greet you. Like that is, I know men who are online, they won't date women with dogs in their profile pictures because they're already in a relationship. And I could never possibly compete with that. So I had to take my little love of my life into this yard filled with rattlesnakes today. And they still had their venom and they still had their teeth, but they had the place that connects the two removed. And so what they did is they put an e-collar on her, which also just had me very upset and stressed out. So they had an e-collar on her, a stranger had her, and they first take her up to a rattlesnake, and as soon as she comes, smells it, experiences it, they shock her with an e-collar. And they had hers on the lowest. They said it's not even really a shock, it's like a buzz. So then they take her to a hole that has a bunch of rattlesnake skins in it. Yeah, and so, and she loves digging in the rattlesnake holes and everything. She's supposed to stick her face in, and she's already terrified, doesn't want to stick her face in that hole. And I was like, oh my God, these e-collars work. I'm like, we should get these for each other. And when we see our friends making a bad choice, we e-collar them. We just buzz them. And we're like, don't put your face in that rattlesnake hole again. And, they're like, no, they're nothing like my ex. You're like, yes, they are. They are exactly like your ex. You're doing it. And so I was just watching this, and this is so effective. It took my little dog, and she's smart, but she's not that smart, she did it like that. So then they have a couple more stops, and then there's the final test to see if she's trained or not trained. So they put her over there with the handler, and it's also that she's with the handler the whole time. So I think if we did the e-collar thing with people, you couldn't have your friends or family members shocking you. You'd probably have to hire a stranger to do it. So it'd be like impersonal. What? They charge right. You better pay a lot. But so she's on that side of the snake and I'm on this side. And the test is, can she run to me while avoiding the parameter of the snake strike? And they told me some dogs, like German Shepherds, they get so aggressive and they want to win that no matter how badly you shock them, they will go for that snake again and again. And then other dogs, not that bright, and they'll kind of run as fast as they can to their owners, but they're so close to the snake, it could get them, right? And I'm proud to say that my dog, she passed. She was an A student. She went as far around away from the snake as she could get to come with a circle back to me. And so that's when I was watching this, and I was like, oh my God, if she can learn to do this in 10 minutes, we can all learn it.
Again, having gone on all these crazy trips with my wife, we've gone through we've gone camping together, we've gone to the wilderness. I remember once we went, I don't remember where it was. If she was here, she would tell you exactly the time and date, but she's not here. So I'm just going to pretend that I know. But we went, and I remember walking through the woods, and we decided it would be a great idea to camp in a floodplain. Because it was beautiful. You know, the water was low, and the rivers were on both sides of us, and it shouldn't be a problem, especially when it was drizzling outside. But it was fine, but I remember we were walking along, and we are literally in the middle of nowhere. There are no other campers there anywhere near us. And I'm walking along, and it was one of those, I think I had a shock collar on me, because I did one of these, and there's the snake, and I did somehow jump, with my foot up in the air, and I went over the snake to their side. And we both were sitting there freaking out, because we thought, if I had gotten bitten, she couldn't have carried me out. I was a dead man. But another experience under the table. All right, so we're going to do one more story before we take a break, and I forget who it is. It is. Oh, it's Jules. It's Jules. Yes. So I want to give a big hand for Jules, because she is the one who manages this place, and we love her. So a big hand for Jules.
Hello. A little nervous. So, my 5 words. Okay, so I've made some pretty crappy choices in my time, but a lot of times they've ended up being phenomenal. Recently, last December, I managed to total my car. And I was driving a Subaru WRX, which I love. It's the sports car. My son loved it. He drove it. It was beat up. It had been in the city for many years, and the bodywork was dinged and banged and scratched. And I think just about every panel of the car had duct tape holding it together. But I loved it, and it ran, and it was good, and it was my baby. And last December, we were in the midst of some horrendous weather around here. It was rain, buckets of rain, and flooding. There was lots of flooding. As soon as, I don't know if you know the area, the King Tide here, when it's high tide and it rains, it just floods. And so that's kind of crucial to my story. But many of you know me. And I own the vintage secondhand store, so I'm always on the lookout for bargains and treasures and treats, and I don't want to pay full price. And there's a fabulous thrift store downtown Mill Valley called Mount Carmel, and it's lovely. It's amazing. They have wonderful staff. The people who run it are fabulous, and they had a sewing machine in the store that I had my eye on. And they wanted $65 for it. And I was like, that's okay, but I'll keep my eye on it. And they had told me that in about a week's time, they would do their 50% sale, where they do for a whole week and everything's 50% off. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna get that sewing machine. And I put calendar alerts on my phone, I set timers, I had post-it notes, I had all sorts of reminders, because I was not going to miss next Saturday morning. And I think they opened at 10 o'clock, and I was going to get that sewing machine. Now, the weather did not cooperate. And I woke up that Saturday morning after 12 alarms and snooze button and all of that, but I woke up, I was ready to go. It was pouring with rain. That was not going to stop me. And I head out in the car, and there's surface water, and this is in areas that don't usually flood. So there's surface water, but I'm head down, and the wipers are going shh, 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 shh. I'm driving, and gradually, bit by bit, the water seems to be getting a little deeper, and my car's going a little slower, but I'm getting that sewing machine. I'm determined, I'm dogged, totally oblivious to the fact that there's no other cars on the road at all. I don't even think the lights were changing, I'm not sure, but I'm coming around here, and this area doesn't always flood. The worst part is Manzanita, and then If that's really bad, then by the high school, and then if the high school's really bad, this intersection. It was pretty bad at this intersection, but it wasn't going to stop me. And I'm driving along here, and it's pouring with rain, and almost like vertical rain, like you can't even see, but I'm going, and it's getting deeper and deeper. No barricades, no one telling me not to go down there or anything, and it's getting deeper and deeper. And the water's like, the waves are like whooshing off the front of the car. But I'm gonna get that damn machine. And I'm making good time. Like, it's not quite 10 and there's no other cars on the road. I'm gonna get that machine, I'm so excited. And so I get approaching the high school round here. The water is starting to come in under the doors. Just little bits coming in. Doesn't bother me, I'm still going. I'm still, one brief second I was like, should I stop? Should I stop it? But I chose not to because I was going to get that machine. Eventually, engine cuts out. That's it. And I'm like, fuck. And I was like, so surprised. And the water's coming in pretty freely now, coming through vents, coming through under the door. And I'm just grabbing all my shit off the floors and putting it over the back to not get wet. But it's coming in. There's little puddles here now. And I'm like, shit. But I'm like, oh my God, I can walk there. I'll walk there. Abandon my car, left the keys in case anyone wants to try their luck and try it. I take off my boots because, God forbid, I total my car, but I'm not going to get my boots wet. So I take off my boots and I put them as high up on the dashboard in the car as I can so they won't get wet. Roll up my jeans, which was pointless because the water was literally up to here. And I'm waiting now. I'm walking down the street, pouring with rain. I've got an umbrella, but it's like inside out and flapping. Then I see the fire trucks are up front, and they're redirecting traffic to come around. And I'm like, yeah, don't go down there. That's not, avoid that area. But no one stopped me. No one came to me, and I'm still gonna go get that damn sewing machine. So I'm walking, and I'm crossing the intersection by Safeway, and I'm like stepping in puddles, and then like it's getting high, like it's out of control. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Finally, the brain starts working, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm like, and I was on the phone to Geico as I was waiting, and I was like, yeah, my car's back there, it's by the high school, can you send someone to get it? I've got to go get this machine. But then after I spoke to them, I was like, finally it hit me. And I was at the intersection, no one else around, nothing. And I'm drenched. And I'm like, why don't I just call the store and see if they'll save it? And that never occurred to me. So I call them, they're like, yeah, sure thing, we know who you are, yeah, we'll put it aside, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yes, I got the machine. And then, I get back to the car, the fire truck people, fighters, are pushing my car over to the side, and then the tow truck appears, and I'm brought back here, and everything's hunky-dory. And so there was some stupid choices I made that day, but the good news is that Geico gave me a big fat payout, and I was able to get a new car. And I got the machine. Yeah.
Alright, so there's the car, there's a picture of the car. Let's give it up for Jules, everybody, give it up for Jules. Alright, we're gonna have a quick break. In about 10 minutes, please enjoy. There's bathrooms back there, there's drinks over here, and if anybody hasn't paid who has not a storyteller, talk to Jules up front. Thank you so much, everybody. Okay, everybody, I think it's time for part 2. There we go, yeah. All right. back to the fly number 11. Remember, next time is our 12th. Very exciting stuff. Okay, so we're going to have, to start us off, we are going to have a new storyteller. And so let's give a big hand for Betty, everybody. Big hand for Betty. You can do it, Betty. You can do it. Okay. Betty, everybody.
Okay, so this
So get
is
right close to the microphone.
like this?
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, so this is about my 16th birthday and 3 really bad choices I made. It could have sort of ruined my whole life, but fortunately that didn't happen. Okay, so it's 1973 and San Francisco, September 17th, and I'm in high school, and school had, just started. And in San Francisco, at least in the 70s, there were only about 5 nice days when you'd want to go to the beach. And they're always right when school starts, right? So I went out at lunchtime with my 2 friends, Kirk and Tom, and for a birthday present, Kirk gave me this 6-pack of Mickey Big Mouth, which is malt liquor, right? Something that we would drink when we could get our hands on it. It comes in glass bottles, and he handed it to me in a brown paper bag at lunchtime and said, "Here you go, happy birthday." And I'm like, "Thanks." So I'm thinking, okay. So I'm late to Spanish class. We get back, and let me just say, Lowell is a really academic, heavily competitive high school. If you get less than a C average, you get kicked out. So you don't want to miss a class. So I have this Mickey Big Mouth with me, and it's glass bottles that are clanging. So I walk into the room, open the door, late, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. I have these bottles with me, and I'm thinking, God, people know I have alcohol. And I go over to my desk, ka-ching, 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 and sit down. And then I take the Mickey Big Mouth and I put it on the floor, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. And Miss Porto, she did not like me anyway, and she just glared at me but she was in the middle of a lesson, so I thought, oh God. So the whole time I'm just thinking, oh, what's gonna happen, what's gonna happen? So we get to the end of Spanish, and nothing happened, but she did glare at me. So I picked up the Mickey Big Mouth, ka-ching, 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 and walked out to the hallway and put it in my locker, right? So then at the end of the school, Tom and Kirk and I decided to go to the beach, Ocean Beach, which my whole life I grew up with my dad and everyone saying, don't go out too far. There's a riptide, there's current. People die all the time out there, so don't go out too far. So anyway, so we drove out to the beach and stopped at my house, which is near the beach, and I got my string bikini halter top, bathing suit, and a towel. So I'm sitting on the beach with these 3 guys, and I guess we were drinking the Mickey Big Mouth, and it was like liquid courage, and we were, it's not gonna be so cold, and this will be fun. And then this really handsome guy from my class that I would never even dream of talking to walks up to us, and he was invited by my friend Tom, and I was like, Vern's here? And God, he's talking to me? So I had just come out of 3 or 4 years of being such a dweeb in junior high, a really far-sighted person, and I was just coming out of my shell and starting to feel a little more confident. And this Vern guy is here, and he is handsome, built, can surf. So anyway, so I go out there with all the boys, and we're trying to catch waves and stuff, and I finally get this really good one, because I was out really far, and I don't know, maybe it was 7 feet or something. And so I ride it in, feeling pretty good, and then the wave breaks. and I get jostled and tousled and just thrown everywhere, and I'm like, oh God, twirled around, and then the tide, it starts receding in 3 different, directions, like really strong. Oh God, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm again, sorry, I'm gonna die. So it's like horrifying. And then somehow, I was just terrified. Somehow I got through it, and I stood up, and I was like, oh God, I'm still alive. And then I looked down, and there's my boob. And I was like, ah! Which is worse than drowning. I was like, this 16-year-old boy's infirmed. And so I was kind of, be cool. So I look over, and I see like 20 feet away, one of them is surfing. I mean, they're really far away, and I think, so nobody ever said anything, so I'm pretty sure they didn't know. And if they did know, they never told me. So, so that was a relief. So then, at the end of the day, I was like, I think I'm never going to do that again. And I thought about later, the consequences, like what could have happened. I mean, expelled from school for bringing alcohol. And then there was, the business of drinking alcohol. And then there was a business of almost dying. And of course, the worst part was being exposed like that out Ocean Beach. And so fast forward a few years, I become a school psychologist, and I'm working with high school students in Marin County, right, in all these different high schools for a long time, like 13 years. And I'm on the other side talking to kids going, I understand why you're making these choices, and this is why you shouldn't. And then I have to talk to the parents about, blah, blah, blah. And trying to keep them out of the criminal system. I'm doing assessments and everything I can to try and, help these kids. Because, God, what almost happened to me. And then, this is sort of related to your frontal lobe comments. We find out, maybe it was 10 years ago, when they can do live MRIs, the teenage brains from about 14 to 17 are like defragging, because they're going to learn so much new information. So the dendrons and axon, whatever those things are, brain connections are being sheared, and it's very tumultuous for these kids because it's clearing out information they don't need to know anymore. And you can sort of see it start to clear up about the end of the 17th year in both of my daughters. And so I'm just here to say we got to give teenagers a break. I mean, there's so much going on. We got to keep them out of the criminal system. But I will say that was a really fun day.
One more time for Betty. It's really brave to come up here and tell a story. I mean, especially for those who haven't done it before, I think it's amazing. So a big hand for you. So speaking of people who have already told stories, we're going to have one other person who has told many stories here. Mimi's going to come up. And Mimi has not given me any words today, even though that is the requirement. But she's not going to do it. So we don't have words for Mimi. But that's okay, because she's Mimi. Big hand for Mimi! Oh, wait, yes, I'm sorry. Wait, we have to, I did this before. We just got to show you. This is the guy that gave her the big mouth. That's Betty.
I thought maybe you were going to tell some Mary.
All right, Mimi, it says no words for you. All right, we're just going to leave it at this. Okay.
Good.
Do it.
So I fly back to my family house in Maryland typically every Christmas. I'll go for a week or 2 weeks. And this year, for New Year's, my girlfriend at the time was like, I'm going to fly out. one night only, New Year's Eve. I'm flying in from California. I can hang out with your friend. We can celebrate New Year's Eve together. It's gonna be amazing. I was like, oh my gosh, love this. She flies out. We have a great time. My family and I were giggling, making wishes, all these great things. Our flight's the next day. She found a flight that would be at the same time as ours, as mine. And we woke up in the morning. There was like feet of snow, just pounding snow coming down. And we were like, it's gonna be fine. We ordered, it's called like a blue shuttle on the East Coast, where they come to your house and they'll drive you to the airport. So the guy comes over, picks me up. Everyone in the bus is looking like, we're not gonna make it anywhere. These are not good choices. And we're like, let's just get to the airport and let them decide if we're going anywhere. So on the way to, Dulles, the guy is leaning outside of the car and throwing that blue windshield wiper liquid on the windshield of the car because it's icing up. I mean, it's just insane weather. We get to the airport and it's just like piles of people, just lining up at the counter. We're trying to keep good spirits, right? It's New Year's, she'd just flown out. We're like, oh my God, this is kind of funny, look at us, right? So we finally go up to the front desk and the woman's like, I don't know if you can tell, right, with your eyes, we're not flying, right? So we can put you up in a hotel tonight. And we're looking at each other, we're like, nailing it? Like, this is great. Free hotel, we don't have to go back to my parents' house. This is gonna be amazing. So we stay a night in the hotel. It's pouring, it's snowing more. So we go back the next day and they're like, yeah, same, no flights, right? You can see all the people, right, with your eyes. Go back to the hotel, right? And we're like, oh, okay, This went on for 4 nights. By the 4th day, we get into the airport, and now the lines are enormous. This is holiday season, East Coast, one of the largest airports in DC. And we get finally up to the front desk, and the lady's like, thank you so much for your patience. We do have a flight for you. I was like, this is great. She was like, it's in 8 days. We kind of look at each other and we're like, no, I don't think you understand how time works. We needed to get back 4 days ago, and now you're telling me we can't leave for another 8 days. And she looked at me like I was obviously not aware of what was happening. She was like, right, it's holiday season and all of the flights are full, and we have 4 days of people that need to get on these flights. So the soonest flight is 8 days from now. And my girlfriend at the time looked at me. I made that face that, you know that face when someone's gonna say something and you're like, I just wanna say no to you right now, it's not gonna be a good idea. So she makes this face at me and she's like, let's drive it. And I'm like, I don't know if you can see with your eyes, there's snow outside everywhere. No one's been flying. Why would driving be a better idea? We have to drive from DC to San Francisco. I don't think that's going to be faster than 8 days. Like, I really need us to work together as a team. We've been having a good time. But I was like, I don't know, man, that could be kind of fun. So we go downstairs. There's no one in line for a rental car. Shocker. No one's like, oh, you know what a good idea would be? To drive in this to another state. So they were like, yeah, you can rent a car, any car, right? Like your pick, So we get this Honda Civic and we're off, right? We realized pretty quickly that the speed limit sign on the side of the road that says something like 55, that's a lie, right? You're not gonna go faster than 10 miles an hour on the freeway, right? We're driving 10 miles an hour, it's nothing but ice. I remember at one point this car was speeding past us on the left-hand side, maybe cranking it to 30, and we were like, whoa, better watch out, We come around the corner and that car was in a ditch, right? And so we knew, we were like, we gotta low and slow. There was one point of the trip that we ended up long days of driving, like non-stop, right? Because if you're going 10 miles an hour, that's a long drive across country. long drive cross country, right, on ice, right, so you're just like panicked the whole time, you know, sweaty palms, you're kind of stressed out, you know. There's this one point where I remember seeing a sign, it was like, I don't know, Kansas City or something, and they were like 30 miles away, and I started crying because I knew it was going to take us 3 hours to get there. We made it to Effingham, Illinois, which I didn't even know was a town. We got there, and there were so limited hotels and so many people stranded trying to drive on these icy roads that the hotels made an anyone can come in policy. So my girlfriend at the time slept on the lobby floor with 200 people in a hotel in Effingham, Illinois. By the time we hit New Mexico, the sun was coming out. We'd almost forgot about the turmoil of the 5 days prior. But what we hadn't forgot was our code, our flight code that we had called on the regular to JetBlue, being like, hello, my code is GLX USA. No, we would like a refund for our flight. No, my code is GLX USA. We would like a flight, you know. Every day we were calling their customer service line trying to be like, we couldn't get on the flight. We would like a refund for this portion of the trip. By the time we made it to Berkeley, it was 6.5 days. We had crushed it. And we were like, take that, JetBlue. And we decided to get our codes tattooed across our hearts. And a week later, we got married.
Mimi. You gotta love Mimi stories. Oh my God. Fantastic. One more hand for Mimi. So, as Mimi's telling that story, I'm thinking about a time I was skiing in Tahoe, and the plan was we had to, I had work that I had to fly to. It was like we were doing in-person research, and I had to fly out of Reno. So the whole family's there, but we're going to fly to Reno. But the snow hits, we get like 3 feet of snow, and I call the car service, and I'm like, can you guys do this? Are you sure this is something you could do? And they're like, yeah, we got this. These are professional people. They've been doing this driving forever. I'm like, okay, great. So they pick us up. There is literally 3 feet of snow. The car, like I have to walk through the snow up to here to get to the car. She's like, I got this. Don't worry, I do it all the time. So she goes, you know what, I'm gonna take a shortcut. And she pulls down a road and proceeds to get stuck.
Yeah.
And I'm there with 2 other people in the car, and she's just looking at me like, and I'm like, did you have a shovel? And so I shoveled the car out and got us out of that spot. And we head to Reno Airport, and as we're driving, I'll never forget this, we're driving down this road, the snow is falling so hard, it's like fog, you can't see. And I remember at one point, you go up from Tahoe, you end up going down the hill into Reno, and we're going down this hill, and a cop car goes flying by us. And in 2 seconds, you know how you can see the lights going? In 2 seconds, it's gone. It's like a ghost car, because it's so thick of snow. And I thought I was 100% sure we were dead. But I'm here today, so we didn't die. All right, so yes, big hand of applause for that. Okay, so we're going to have Mary Ann is going to come up and tell her story. Let's give a big hand for Mary Ann.
All right. Hi, can you hear me from this distance?
Yes.
It always feels so awkward. Okay. So, choices. Choices sometimes can change your life. I have a habit of picking up hitchhikers. It's not one of those stories, but I have done that, like especially coming back from Bolinas, going through Stinson. I see some beach goers and they don't want to wait for the shuttle, and I'm like, I size them up and they jump in. It goes pretty well. And I think I got this from my dad. He would size people up. He was a real good people person. And he has a very famous story that ended up affecting me, where one day he was driving to work and he would take my younger brother to school as he went to work. And we used to live in New Jersey, and we'd go over the George Washington Bridge into Manhattan. And on this particular day, it was raining so hard. It seems to be a theme here. And Fifth Avenue was just bumper to bumper. And my dad looked out the window and he saw a very well-dressed man trying desperately to hail a cab. And he was getting drenched. So he rolled down the window, because in those days that's what you did with a window, and said out of the window, he goes, "Hey, mister, where are you heading? Maybe I give you a ride." And the man was startled, and he said, "I'm going down to Lexington and 68. And he said, "Oh, hop in, I give you a ride, okay? I'm taking my son to school, I'm going to work, this is in my direction." So this very soggy gentleman jumps in the seat next to him, and they start chit-chatting for a while, and they exchange business cards. And the gentleman realizes that my dad is an obstetrician gynecologist. He's like, "Hey, doc, I have some ladies who could really use your help. I'm a fashion photographer, and I work with women from all over the world, and this is good. I could get you some business. And how can I ever repay you to get me to work on time? This is great." And they get to a red light, and my dad looks at him, sizes him up, and decides to say, "I have a very beautiful daughter. Maybe she can be a model. What do you think? Would you look at her?" And the man, his name was Mitchell Gray, he looks over at my dad, and he's this little Hungarian man with a round head, big ears sticking out, and some big glasses. He's like, "Sure, I'll meet your daughter, and I can tell her in 5 minutes, maybe 5 seconds if she's got a chance in hell." "Oh, okay, thank you very much." And they go on their way. And my dad comes home extremely excited about this encounter. And he tells me, he's like, "Oh yeah, I met this photographer, and he works with models, and you could become model." I'm like, "Dad, I'm about to graduate from college, and I've been working on my mind for 4 years." So I graduate, and I cannot find a job anywhere. I'm interviewing at the Museum of Natural History, and my degree in archaeology is not paying off. And I realized that my parents will not pay for grad school, and the job I did secure, scooping ice cream at Haagen-Dazs, was not going to pay the bills. So I dig out Mitchell's business card, and I decide I'm going to give him a call and see if maybe there's a way I can make money in this industry. But I am so nervous, and I remember just standing there by the phone, just going, "Come on, Marianne, you can do this. You can just commit to it for a year or two, make some money, and then continue on your path to grad school." I pick up the phone, and I'm shaking, and I dial the number, and he actually answers. He's like, "Oh yeah, your dad's the crazy guy who picked me up in New York. He doesn't know anybody, and he just picks me up, and why not? Come on in, I'll meet with you, I'll tell you." So we set a date, and I drive into Manhattan. It's very intimidating, and park the car and go up to his studio, and he said, "I'll give you 5 minutes." And I get there 2 hours later, and a joint. He's like, "Let me do some Polaroid pictures of you." And he says, "Oh, the camera likes you." So at the end of our 2-hour session, we've completely put a plan together that he's going to do a photo shoot of me, and all I have to do is pay for the development of the film. But he'll provide the makeup artist, some of the costumes, and the film, the photos. And so I have an incredible shoot. It's really fun. I'm digging it. I'm like, this is great fun. And then he actually prints up some of the images for me, and then gives me a bunch of slides. And I look into printing up more of them, but it's very expensive to do. So I have my little starter kit, and then he said, "You need to go to Ford Models. I work with them all the time. They're the best. And you want to start at the top and then see if you can get in." So I stand outside this brownstone on 59th Street and First Avenue, and it's Ford Models. And this was the early 80s, so I put pink lip gloss on, and then I brunch my hair upside down, and I flip it so I look like a Charlie's Angel. It's all fluffy. And I'm about to walk in, and this girl cuts right in front of me, and she's a bit shorter than me, and she's got dark roots and a big tan, and I was like, "Fine, go ahead, go in front of me." And this is what they call an open call at the agency. So anybody who wants to be a model can come in with their pictures. So I let her go in front of me, and she goes up to the receptionist, and she plops her book down, and she's like, "Hi, I'm Candy, I'm here for the open call." And the receptionist is like, all right, hold on a second. And she goes to the back and she brings out this guy named Jake who's wearing all beige. And he's like, I'm Jake, what can I do for you? And he says, well, I'm Candy and I'm here to do the model open call. And he's like, how old are you? And she's like, I'm 21. How tall are you? 5'7.5". All right, Candy, I'll cut to the chase. You're too old and you're too short. So why don't you work in TV, like TV commercials or something, and Myrna here will give you a list of agencies you can go look at, okay? And she was devastated. And I'm standing there going, oh my God, I'm 22. So I put my hair up in a high ponytail and I suddenly feel Jake's eyes looking at me and I'm like, hi. He's like, what's your name? And I had a high school nickname. So I said, my name's Miana and I'm 17 and I'm 5'10". And I had this big flashing smile because I want to make sure that I seem younger and spunkier. And he's like, huh, do you have pictures? I was like, yes. He's like, all right, come on back. So I make it past the first stage. And I go down the hallway and I see this mahogany staircase going up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's where Eileen Ford works, up there. And I get in the back room and there's a table with 4 chairs and I place my portfolio on. And at this point, I really don't know what to do anymore. I haven't been coached, I don't know. Jake's an old hand at this. He grabs it, unzips it in one flourish, takes my photos out and goes through them really fast like a dealer in Las Vegas. And then he gets to the slides and he holds them up and he's like, these are good. And then he sees Mitchell's name on them and he goes, how do you know Mitchell? I said, he actually found me. It's a kind of funny story. And he goes, hold on a second. He gathers them up because I'm going to show these to Eileen. And he goes up the stairs to talk to her. And I hear them up there talking. And I'm so nervous. My heart's pounding out of my chest. And I'm starting to bite my nails. And I feel my ponytail kind of sag down. And he comes back. And I'm like, so nervous. And he says, you know, she likes your look. But this is a big competitive agency. So we think you should go to a small shop, be the big fish in a small place, put your book together, get more tear sheets, learn how to pose, be a real model, and then come back in 6 months and we'll send you to Europe, like Milan or France or something. I was like, is that a good thing? Or is that, are you just putting me off? And he's like, you saw what we did with Candy. I was like, okay. So I have my list, I leave. A few days later, I actually get into an agency called Legends in Mannequin, and 6 months later I ended up in France.
There. Go. Huh? Get about it. Right. Oh yeah. Okay, so we have one more storyteller for tonight, and that is Alex. Let's give a big hand for Alex. Nice and close to the mic. All right.
Hi. So before I start my story, I'm wondering if I could get a show of hands of how many people were here last time. Okay, so hopefully you remember my story, and I just wanted to bring to our attention that Alana is actually here with us tonight,
Oh.
and I think she deserves a round of applause. Yes, and I don't know how much sense that will make to you guys that either don't remember or weren't here, but I'm in eternal debt to Alana. So, yeah, I had to mention that she was here tonight. But tonight I'm going to tell a different story. This is my second year of college. I went to UC Santa Barbara and Isla Vista, which I may have mentioned previously in my other stories, but if you didn't know, that's where I went to school. And my sophomore year was my first year living in a house. My first year as a freshman, I was living in kind of like a dorm style private apartment, and I was kind of like finally on my own, living out on the street called Trigo, which was the street 2 streets down from Del Playa, which is like where all the action happened. So I was really excited to move into this house. And this house, we were gonna have about 8 people living in it. And we were all moving in at different times. And I was one of the first people to move in. So I kind of had like this big house all to myself, and you know, a couple weeks later, somebody would move in, and then a couple weeks after that, someone else would move in. And one day, this guy named Kyle moves in. And Kyle is a very conventionally attractive guy who, he's like classic beach boy. Like, he's the guy everybody wants to be in Isla Vista. And I was just so impressed with him because he was, at that time, you know, his last year at UCSB. I was still at City College. So I'm like, wow, this really cool, like, university guy is like living in our house. And I think he's so cool. And not only was he cool, that his friends were really cool. And I remember he had this friend, Jessica, and Jessica was just such a character. Like, I would wake up at 12 because I was a degenerate and I slept in way too late, and she would be like 12 tequila shots deep into the day already. And I thought, and you know, and she had like these really cool trendy flip-flops that she would wear all the time, and she would run around town with like a handyman toolbox and like keep all of her like paraphernalia and like drug things in there, which I wasn't a part of, but I was like, okay, like this girl doesn't, like, she does whatever she wants. And I'm like, okay, Kyle is cool and his friends are cool. Like, I really want to like be in this crowd. Like, I want to be cool. So what better way to be cool than throw a party? Am I right? Like, I finally have this new house. I'm like, I'm gonna throw a house party because that's what you do in Isla Vista. And I invited a bunch of people over. They're playing beer pong in the backyard. And I get like, you know, all of a sudden there's like a knock on the front door, which was kind of strange because most people were just coming in through the backyard door. But I answer it, and there's 3 people there that I've never seen. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like, randos are showing up to my party. That means it's really big and happening. And like, word is getting around that like party on Trigo at my house is fun. So I'm like, oh my God, you guys are so cool. Like, please come into my house and play beer pong, and like tell your other friends that you're here, and like also like tell Kyle that like you heard about me and that like you think I'm cool. And so the rest of the night goes on. I had a pretty good time. Kyle was there briefly. He had better things to do at one point and left kind of early, which was disappointing, but I made sure to let him know, like, hey, did you see those randos that came in? Yeah, I guess, you know, people were talking about me. No big deal. And the next day I wake up and I get up and I go into the kitchen and, you know, start making breakfast, and Kyle walks in and he doesn't say anything to me. And I'm like, oh my God, like, why isn't he saying good morning? Like, what's going on? And he kind of looks upset. And I'm like, Kyle, like, what's going on? Like, are you okay? He goes, Alex, my iPad is missing, and I'm pretty sure those randos went into my room and stole my iPad. It's nowhere to be found. It's gone. And I'm like, oh my God, how could I be so naive? Like, the random people that showed up to my house actually weren't my friends and robbed the roommate that I was really hoping would, you know, like me. And I was so embarrassed. And I had like a 10-year-old iPad that I tried giving to him because there was no way I could afford to buy him a new one. And he was not interested. He was like, whatever, man. Like, I don't want your iPad. Like, just don't ever have a party here again. And like, if you're gonna do it, like, make sure like randos never come again. I'm like, okay, fair request. But I made a choice that I was gonna do whatever it took to get Kyle to like me and to like repair this friendship that I so desperately wanted. So I started looking for opportunities to like do nice things for him. And the first nice thing was that he had these really nice glass beer mugs that he would pull out whenever he was playing beer die with his friends in the side yard. And I saw that they were sitting in the sink one day, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna wash his beer mugs for him, you know? Who likes to do dishes? Not me, but I'm gonna do it for him. And what I didn't realize is that the water in Santa Barbara is really hard, so it will leave like calcium stains on glass. And when I washed his beer mugs, I like permanently fogged them up. So now they're like these permanently dirty beer mugs. I'm like, okay, attempt 1 didn't go well. It's okay, it's just beer mugs. Like, he can't be mad at that forever, you know, like I can still fix this. So, you know, a couple weeks go by, I'm like, you know, going to do my laundry, and I see that Kyle's left.
So not Landry.
No,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay,
Yeah, it's supposed to say laundry. I see that his clothes are in the washer, and he's not home. And I'm like, oh my God, you know what? I'll put his clothes in the dryer for him. Like, just giving a helping hand, you know? Put him in the dryer. I'm like, I'm gonna get these done fast. Put it on high, you know? So when he gets home, they're ready. Kyle goes into the garage to get his clothes, comes into the living room where I'm sitting. Who the hell put my clothes in the dryer? They're all 100% cotton. I can't wear any of these anymore. They're like 2 sizes too small. They're all supposed to be air dried. I'm like, oh, no, I don't know who that was. You should ask one of the other roommates. That sucks, dude. I don't know who would like touch your stuff like that without asking. That's so lame. And so yeah, my attempts of trying to redeem this friendship were not going very well. And like months go by and I haven't had any new opportunities to like try and mend this friendship. And then one night I get home pretty late, like 2 a.m. And I like get home, I put my stuff down, I hear a knock on the door, and it's a DoorDash delivery. And I'm like, I wonder who this is for. I look at the receipt, it's for Kyle. I'm like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna hand deliver this to his room. So that way he doesn't have to get out of bed, and I'll give him his food. So I'm like, kind of being quiet, because it is really late at night, looking down the hallway. I can see that his door is like cracked open a little bit, so there's like light coming through and from the dark hallway. I'm like, okay, this is my moment, like doing something nice, like this is gonna be the thing that makes us friends. I opened the door, and it was not a good time for me to come in. He had a guest over, and I was definitely kind of killing the vibe. I'm like, oh, hey, like, I think this is your Wendy's. Sorry. And so, yeah, that kind of blew up in my face too. And in the end, Kyle and I never became friends. We actually ended up hating each other. Funny enough, you know, who would have known that we would not really like each other? And I actually, like, yeah, so at one point in time, I actually blocked him from the group chat. So anytime there were conversations in the, like, roommate group chat, I, like, really never knew what was going on because I only got half the conversation because I blocked Kyle. But yeah, I guess what I learned is that you can make a choice to be kind, but it's not always going to work out in your favor. So, yeah.
One more time for Alex.
I just want to mention one thing. I had a similar experience, not similar. I had a party in Boston. I remember when I just moved there. I didn't really know anybody. We invited a bunch of people to come over, and somebody comes in and they're putting beer away in the refrigerator, and I don't recognize them. My roommate doesn't recognize them. I went up to them and said, "Oh, hi. Sorry, who do you know here?" They're like, "Oh, we're friends of Gary." I'm like, I'm Gary. And they're like, oh, well, we're your friend. And it turned out they knew someone who knew someone. And then, anyway, I want to thank all the storytellers tonight. It was such an amazing job. Everybody did a great job tonight. So just as a reminder, we had Eileen and Jeremy and Maria and Jules and Betty, Alex, Marianne and Mimi and myself, Gary Redmond. Welcome. Well done, everybody. Remember, we have another show on May 16th. That is going to be Story Salad, so it's open. There is no theme, and we'd love to see you back here again. Please tell your friends, and remember, it's all about community. I would like new storytellers. Please let me know. If you're interested, you can text me. I'll put my number back up there, or do the Facebook page. Thanks again, everybody.